Last week, the International March of the Living had the opportunity to interview and record the testimony of Norbert Strauss and his own first-hand account of the events of Kristallnacht. Here is a portion of that interview.
My name is Norbert Strauss. I was born in Germany in a small town named Bad Homburg, north of Frankfurt. I will be relating to you my remembrances about the Kristallnacht, Night of the Broken Glass, November 9th, 1938. Middle of the night, while everybody was sleeping, all of a sudden we hear a loud banging on the door. My father gets up, opens up the door. There are a couple of policemen and a couple of black uniform, which is the SS, which is called Sondersturm. And they demand that all men 16 and over come with them. The only ones who were men who were over 16 was my uncle and my father. They quickly, under pressure from the police, left without even taking a winter coat with them. In November it's already cold in Germany. They were taken to a large hall called Festhalle in Frankfurt, something like Madison Square Garden, where there are exhibitions and so on throughout the year. Thousands of Jewish men were brought in, not only from Frankfurt, but from also in the neighborhood. And they were kept there under very strenuous, terrible conditions. No food. If you wanted to go to the bathroom, you had to run the gauntlet of SS troops who would beat up everybody. After a few days, we understand that my father and the others were shipped off to the concentration camp, Buchenwald. Later in the morning, after we had come back home again, my brother and I decided we had not heard anything about school, and we went by bicycle. It was the only safe way to go is by bicycle, because otherwise you could be caught by the Hitler Youth, and they would love to beat up any Jewish boy they could find. So we went on our bicycles and started going towards school. We come about halfway towards school to a famous intersection called Uhrtürmchen, little clock tower, and we stopped there. Why did we stop? We look in front of us, about a half a block away, was one of the two Orthodox synagogues going up in flames. The fire was shooting out of the windows. The fire department was there, but only to make sure that the buildings to the left and the right and the back would not catch fire. They made no attempt to put out the fire in the synagogue. Later in the day, my father and all the other men got on trains and they shipped to Buchenwald. After a while, my mother found out that there was a way of getting the men out of the concentration camp. You had to meet 4 conditions. Number 1, you had to have been a frontline soldier in the First World War. That was fine. My father had been in the artillery on the French border. Number 2, you had agreed to be out of Germany within 6 months. That was more difficult because my father at this point had no idea where to go, but he said yes, he will. Number 3, he had to sell his business for pennies on the dollar under duress, and my father agreed to that. And number 4, you had to agree to turn over all your life insurance policies, the policies on his wife, my mother, my brother, and I, for the benefit of the state. All the accumulated cash values were lost. The state took it over. My father agreed to everything, and exactly 4 weeks after he had been arrested, he came home. We were all standing on the sidewalk waiting for him to come because we had been told that he was coming. If I had not known that this was my father, I would not have recognized him. He was dirty, disheveled. The hair on his head was shaved. The beard was grown. His clothing, to the extent that he still had it, was dirty and torn. But he was glad to be home. And naturally immediately started working on a way of getting out of Germany within 6 months, as he had promised he would. He was finally able to buy a landing pass to Cuba. And in May 1939, just about 6 months after he had come home from the concentration camp, he left on the famous St. Louis. That is the end of my story about the Kristallnacht.